Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'll be explaining about the RDS services in AWS. So this is going to be an introduction video. We'll start with some basics and then we will move on to some of the important features such as auto scaling and read replicas provided in the RDS database service, right? And then we will go on to hands-on to create a new database. We'll configure it. Once we have this database connection ready, we'll go ahead and execute some of the DDL and DMLs on top of the DB that we created, right? So before we proceed, my name is Rohan, and if you are new to my channel, go ahead and subscribe so that you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. So with that, let's get started and we'll understand what that RDS is. So RDS is nothing but a relational database service. It is a managed service for SQL type of operations, right? And it supports multiple databases. For example, it supports a MySQL, MariaDB, Postgre, Oracle, SQL Server, and then DB2, right? So these are the standard databases. Even you will find it on premise as well, right? So using these database services, AWS has created proprietary database called as Aurora. So Aurora is nothing but AWS specific database service, which can be hosted either on MySQL or Postgres. So this is the proprietary tool. So obviously AWS has put in some additional extra features on this type of database. Okay, so with that, we'll look at some of the advantages. So RDS provides automated provisioning and then the updates to any of the database services here. If we standalone install these database services, you will have to manually create it, deploy it, and then whenever there is an upgrade or a patch, we will have to do it manually. But RDS gives that feature fully automated. And RDS will also give us automated backup and restore functionality, and it gives us the monitoring dashboard to look at the database health and then the usage, and in case of any warnings, errors, everything would be tracked there, right? And it provides the auto scaling feature for the storage, and then we will have the read replicas for high performance reads, right? So we will talk about auto scaling and then the read replicas in the upcoming slides, but these are some of the top advantages with RDS systems. Okay, so moving on. The first advanced feature is auto scaling. So when you consider any application, right, it can be an ETL or an application connecting to the RDS. So this will be doing and read and write operations on top of the RDS systems, right? So this auto scaling feature in RDS will increase the storage dynamically. Whenever there is any need, it would actually increase or decrease, right? And you don't have to do anything manually. Everything is automated. No manual interventions is required. And all you have to do is you have to set up a higher threshold. For example, so today you have a 10 GB worth of database. You will have to give some of the higher limit, right? Higher limit, or it's called threshold. You can give like 50 GB or 100 GB, and what will happen is it will automatically scale only up until this feature, this threshold. So it should not be like 10 terabyte, 20 terabytes, right? So in order to make sure we set the proper threshold, this auto scaling will always follow this threshold limit. And it also provides automatic scaling whenever the free storage becomes less than 10%. For example, you have given 10 GB as the initial storage for the free storage, and as soon as the 9 GB of data is already covered, it will start doing that automatic scaling work on top of the storage. And also whenever the storage goes low for 5 minutes, it will go ahead and start that scaling process. It is particularly useful for the unpredictable usage. For example, if you have any application that is writing data at a much higher rate, then RDS is more suitable for such applications, right? So, and also it will always follow this threshold based scaling, and it will not overdo anything beyond that, right? So that's all on the auto scaling part. Okay, now let's talk about another important feature called read replica. Read replica is nothing but copying your master data into another instance, so that can be used for any reading purposes. For example, you have an master database. So let's say this is a master database, and whenever you insert any records into, let's say, table X, as soon as a record is inserted into this master database, this data gets copied over to another database, right? So this replication, copying of data, is called read replicas, and this replica data can be only read by any other applications. You cannot write from this replicated instance. It's only used for read purposes. That's why it's called read replicas. Okay, and if I were to show you some sample, here is the master database. As soon as an application writes data into master, in this case the data is getting replicated to two instances. So it can be one read replica or multiple read replicas. Okay, and this replication happens in the asynchronous mode, and this replication can be set within the AZ, or it can be multi AZ as well. So AZ is here nothing but availability zone. So availability zone is a nearby data centers which can be used for high availabilities, right? Even it can be within one single AZ, or it can be a multiple AZ. So it gives you that flexibility. And then read replicas will have a separate connection string, so that you can have any ad hoc SQL queries or reporting purposes can read this instead of connecting to these master, right? What will happen if the reporting or ad hoc SQL fires on the master database is this will have an impact on this master. So if you are writing data and if you are somebody else is reading, you will have some performance hit. So it's always preferred that your reporting or any ad hoc request goes through a read replica. Okay, so that's the benefit of read replica, and this is what we call it as active passive connections. So your main instance or master instance is called active, and these are passive instances. So passive is only for read purposes, and active is for read and write purposes. And then some of the use cases. So where do we use this read replicas is we have just seen ad hoc queries, or even if you want to set up DR, which is disaster recovery, you can set it up on multiple AZs as well, or even if it is a different region, you can set that too, so that when one data center goes down, so you have your data available in the other region, and then it will serve all your applications without any problem. And this way you will even avoid impacts to the main application. For example, if everybody is trying to hit the master database for querying purposes, there will be some logs or deadlocks or any performance impact on the applications, right? So the read replicas will avoid all that impacts. All right, so I logged into my AWS console account, and this is the home page. And as you can see on the right top, you will see the account, and then you will see the region that I'm currently, connected to. So let's go ahead and type in RDS and click on this RDS. Now we'll be getting redirected to RDS homepage. As you can see, there are no databases instance, no cluster, no snapshot, anything. So when you go to this database, you will see that database is currently 0, right? No instances found. Now we'll go ahead and create RDS database. I'll go with the standard create, and when it comes to engine options, you have the Aurora and then the MySQL, Postgres. So what I'll do is for this demo purpose, I'll go ahead and create one PostgreSQL. Okay, and as soon as you select the DB, you will have to choose the engine. I'll just keep the latest version. If you want to, get into the older version, you can choose. Otherwise, you can just keep it to the latest. And when it comes to template, let's go ahead and use the free tier one. This term is very confusing for any new beginners. If your AWS user was created like a year ago, then you will not be eligible for this free tier. Even though if it says free tier, you will not be able to. So I highly recommend you to create a new account and then use the free tier options. Okay, so once you create, as soon as you choose free tier, you will not be able to choose any of the multi-AZ or multi, AZDB instances, because these are some of the advanced features. Only if you go ahead with production, then you will be able to choose it. Okay, so for now, I'll just go ahead with free tier. And the database name, this is the database, instance name. So I'll just give the learning with Rohan. So this is my DB instance, and the master username we can just put it as I'll just put Rohan. And then what we can do is we can manage these connections in the secret manager, or it can be self-managed as well. So I'll go with self-managed, and then maybe in the future I'll show you how secret managers can be used. So maybe when we create the new lambdas or glues, then I'll show you how to create this using the secret manager, right? So I'll just go with self-manage, and I'll put um, the password. Okay, I have set the master password. And then if you scroll down, here is the instance configuration. So the free tier instances are allowed only on the T2 or T3 micros. Okay, so otherwise you will be charged. So I'll go ahead with T3 micro. And if you scroll down, you will see the storage. Storage has to be at least minimum 20 GB. So I'll just go ahead with the default value, and this is the storage auto scaling that I was telling. So we can set this maximum storage threshold, so that any auto scaling will not cross this limit. Okay, so for now I'll just do 100 GB. And then the connectivity, right? In the connectivity section, you have again two options: don't connect to an EC2 compute resources, or connect to an EC2 instances. So don't worry on this part, and we will go ahead with the standard VPC. If you have a specific VPC, you can go ahead, otherwise this thing is fine. And then the DB subnet, because whenever you create security, it has to be the all the application should be under the public subnet, and the DB should be on the private subnet, right? So we'll talk about that later. We'll just keep it to default, and here we will see we'll enable it to public access, so that we'll be able to connectivity. I mean, we'll be able to connect to this DB from public. If you have a local DB client, you can use it. Okay, and then we'll not change anything related to VPC, and then we'll go ahead, and if you want to add tags, you can add a tags. And the database authentication option would be password authentication. So you will have to connect to this database using a standard username and password, or if you want to connect it using IAM role, you can do it. Otherwise, for now we'll go ahead with the password based authentication. And for the monitoring purposes, I mentioned for the monitoring dashboard, right? So you will get 7 days of retention period in the free tier. We'll just go ahead with the standard default settings, and here it will show the monthly estimated cost. Don't worry, if your account is new, you will not be charged in the free tier. If it is after the free tier, you will be charged with this much if you run this database for 1 month. Now the database is getting created. Okay, now if you see learning with Rohan, this is a DB name which is getting now created, and the engine is Postgres, and the size is T3 micro. Okay, is under this particular VPC, and since we chose the free tier, you will not get that multi-AZ feature, but if you go with the standard or a production, you will get that feature. Okay, so this will take a minute or two. Once this is done, we can start using it. So there are a couple of other settings. Maybe I'll talk about it. If you have this database backup in S3, you can use this restore from S3 option and then choose that RDS backup and to create the new database from that. Right. So that's another advantage. Otherwise, you can go ahead with create database. All right. So now if you see the database is now created and it is available for querying purposes. Right. So here are a couple of actions when you choose this database. You can even modify if you want to change any of the parameters, or you can even create like a read replicas that I mentioned right under the actions tab. All you have to do is click on this DB and then go ahead and create a read replica. Or you can even do like convert to multi-AZ deployment, stop temporary reboot, deleting this instance. All of that you can do it. Right, you can there are multiple, like taking a snapshot, restoring, creating the proxy, all of that you can do. So I covered about read replicas, right? You can do create read replica. Okay, so we'll do that read replica and we'll do one insert into one of the table, and then we will see how that gets transitioned into multiple read replica instances. So what we'll have to do is, again, we'll have to go through all the settings in order to create another database. It's exactly like another database, only the difference would be to have this instance as read-only mode. Okay, and from the master instance, everything would be getting replicated asynchronously. Okay, so we can do like replica of LWR, and we'll go ahead with the same set of free tier account, and then let's go ahead and create read replica. Okay, no underscore, it can be only hyphen. Okay, so once we have this read replica, what we'll do is see, this is how it shows. It's the main master DB and then the read replica. Okay, so now as you can see, there is one primary database which is already created, and then we created one read replica, right? So these are the DB identifier names. So when you click on one of this database identifier, when you scroll down, you'll be able to see all the connectivity, security, monitoring, log and events, and then the configuration. Okay, so in order to connect to this particular database, what I'm doing is I have um, a client tool called dbeaver, and if you're not sure, you can download it from web. If you go to Google and then just type in dbeaver downloads, you can download it from this particular website. Okay, you can go with the community version and then the Windows installer. Once you have this tool ready, you just launch it, and once you launch it, you will have to go ahead and create a new connection. Okay, so this is the new connection. Click on this Postgres, and so in order to provide the URL and then the host name and the database name, what we'll have to do is go to this particular console. Okay, connectivity and security. So here you will see the endpoint. So this is the host name. Okay, I'll come back to this and then update the host name, and then the database name will be Postgres only. Okay, and then remember we created username and password during the RDS provisioning, so that we will have to insert it here, username and password, and the port is going to be 5234, that's by default, and no other changes is required, at least on the connection settings. So one thing is, see, when we created this RDS instance, by default, the database will not be accessible publicly. Okay, and if you try to test the connection, it will not go through. It will probably, fail. The connection will fail, saying the timeout reached. We'll see that in a minute. And also I'll show you how to solve that problem so that you'll be able to connect it from your local or anybody throughout the world. If you want to connect to it, you will have to set that up. Okay, now you see this connection attempt timed out. So this is because the RDS database that we created, it's not open to the world. Okay, so in order to make that change, what we'll have to do is go to this VPC settings. So this is the security. So this is the security group. So I'll just do a right click and then open a new tab. Okay, here you will be able to see the security group. So security group is nothing but it's a set of rules, inbound rules and then the outbound rules, which allow external traffic to come inside and the internal data to go outside. So now that we are trying to connect from my local laptop, you have to set the appropriate inbound rules. Okay, so I just clicked on inbound rules and here is one inbound rule. So there will be one standard inbound rule which is defined. Now what we have to do, edit this inbound rule. Okay, so you will have to create a new rule for Postgres to be able to connect from external world. So for that we will have to just type in Postgres. Okay, and I want all the TCP IP traffic to come from anywhere from the IPv4. Okay, anywhere, whoever is coming to connect to this database, it will allow. So that's the open connection, open to the world. But if I choose my IP, what this will do is it will take the IP address of my computer and it will allow only connection from this local computer. Okay, so I would like to set my IP and then save this rule. Okay, so now that I have added an inbound rule, now this database should be accessible from the external world. Not from external world, only from my laptop. Now if I hit the test connection, it should now go through fine. Okay, see now it is connected. Right, so this is how you will solve the connectivity. Whenever you see any timeout issue, it is all related to security groups. So now that is set now, what I'll do, I'll open this and see what tables we have and what can be created. Okay, so under database we have Postgres database. Under the schema we have only one public schema and under that we don't have any tables. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and choose a new SQL script. It's basically a new SQL window through which you can interact. Okay, so in order to make this thing faster, I have one create table script ready, which I'll go through in a few seconds. Okay, so here is I'm going to create one customer table with these many columns: customer ID, first name, last name, email, and here are some of the constraints. If you see primary key, not null constraints, and then you can give the varchar and a date time, all of the different formats. So I'll go ahead and click on execute. Okay, so this is how you will create a new table. Okay, let's say now you will have to change any of the column to add any constraints. For example, earlier we just said email as unique, unique and not null. But if you want to change that, you can run some alter statements on the particular table so that you can modify your table structure. Okay, that's the idea. So now what I'll do is I have some sample insert statements. I'll go ahead and execute these insert statements. Okay, first record is inserted and I'll just click on this and then execute this. Okay, so 2 records are now inserted. I can now check the data. See, this has 2 particular records. I hope this is now clear and you're able to create a new database, configure the connection and then insert the values into this particular DB. Now, if you go back to our RDS instance, see we have inserted the data into the primary table, but that data will be automatically replicated over to this read replica. right? So what we will do, we'll configure another connection. So I'll go to the dbeaver and I'll go ahead and create a new connection using Postgres. Okay, so now I'll give the host name and the same default password, username and password. Okay, now we'll go ahead and click on finish. And you can also rename this connection if you want. Edit the connection. If you go to this general tab, you will see read replica. Okay, now I'll connect to read replica. Let me minimize this. This is our primary. I'll just rename it to primary so that we can clearly see what's going on. Okay, now I'm expanding the read replica. Here our expectation is, whatever we insert in primary, that data should automatically get replicated to the read replica, right? So we'll expand. See, we already have this customer table ready, and what I'll do is I'll open new SQL window. Here I'll be able to read this table customer. Okay, now I have executed. We're now able to see these two records. Now if I want to update, this update will not be allowed in this particular table, basically on the read replica, right? I'll just randomly say set email equals test. Okay, I'll say where customer ID equals 1. So I'll try to update and let's see what happens. See, it says cannot execute update in the read-only transaction. So that ensures that read replica is only for reading purpose and we cannot do any updates, deletes or truncate anything on the main table. If you want to do any change, you will have to connect to this primary, right? So the primary, then you will have to update the same update statement. Now I'll take the same. I'll go ahead and update. See, now I'm switching back to the primary, and here I'll be able to update. See, this is now updated. Now let's go back to this read replica and then select this particular data. See, the test email is automatically updated here. See, we updated in primary. That replication has happened in the read replica. Now it is showing the updated email.